There are definitely some little spots of orange peel on here. Nice as the hood did, there was a lot of nooks, crannies, curves, and... What's up guys, DIY Salvage Guy here, and welcome back to another episode of my channel. In today's episode, we're going to be going over the paint that I did in the previous episode. I'm going to be showing you how it came out, and we're going to be going over the buffing process. Now I want to be clear with this. I make a big mistake in this. I sand through the clear coat, I sand through the paint, and I have some issues with that. So I tried to fix it up using some alternative methods, but the end result is that I'm going to be repainting after this because I made some mistakes that I just couldn't fix. I tried, as you guys will see, I tried touch-up paint. I tried going through and trying an airbrush kit as well. It just didn't work out, and I was extremely disappointed with the way it came out, and I want this to be good. So I took the day, took the night, and the next day I decided that I needed to sand the whole thing down. So at the end of this, where it ends is I'm just polishing. The bumper is going to be good, but the hood is going to wind up getting repainted. Now, one of the reasons that I do have to repaint is because I use the DA sander, and the DA sander is supposed to be really good. I think if I had more skill with it, I'd be better off, but on the bumper I wound up using just a hand sand in order to get all the orange peel and everything off, and that seemed to work a little better for me. So the other thing that I had an issue with is that I used a waxing polisher, and that does not work with paint correction. So a friend of mine that you'll see in the video actually showed me that I should be using some different stuff, and he recommended a different type of thing. I didn't have it at the time, so I figured I'd try it anyway. Long story short, the polisher that I use is just a rotary polisher, and it's not a dual action, and that's the reason why I wound up going through the paint in so many spots. So I wound up correcting that in the future, but this is something that I could talk about in hindsight because I did this already. So same thing throughout this entire channel, guys. We learn as we go. We find out what works. We find out what doesn't work, and all that's just fine. So I'm learning as I go, the same way that I hope that you guys will learn as you go. So if you guys are new here, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys will learn alongside with me, but please make sure that you guys like, subscribe, throw me some comments down below. Make sure your post notifications are on. It's that little bell right at the bottom. And also make sure that you guys are following me over on Instagram because I do post things on there quicker than it makes its way over to YouTube. If this is your first video, you guys might not understand the concept of this. I basically just learn as I go. Everything I do here I've never done before, and all I want to do is just try to become an expert in that by trial and error and DIY. If you guys are returning viewers and subscribers, thank you so much for coming back and continuing to support me. One of the things that I just posted on Instagram quicker than it made its way over to YouTube is my new intro video. I'll show you guys that right after this. So please let me know what you guys think of that. I really enjoy it. I think it kind of captures the art of this channel. It's a little bit fun, a little bit serious at the same time, but at the end of the day, all we want to do is just rebuild cars, and it doesn't matter how it happens. Speaking of that intro, I got to give a big shout out to Mandeep Singh. I will post his Instagram down below if anyone's looking for cartoon work or something like that. Please make sure you guys check him out. You guys ready to see that intro now? Let's roll it. Hey guys, DIY Salvage Guy here, and welcome back to another video. So you guys saw me paint in the last video. I have absolutely no experience doing this. I have done nothing in terms of using air compressor or anything like that to paint before. The only kind of painting I've ever done is like, you know, house painting with a roller, stuff like that. So watching YouTube videos and basically just trial and error. I knew going into this that this car was not going to be perfect. I didn't even think it was going to be 75% of what a body shop would do, or let alone factory. But I am thrilled with the way that this came out. Yeah, I have a couple runs on it here or there, mostly on the bumper. I don't have anything on the hood, but it came out phenomenal. I could not be happier. I spent $100 on an air compressor off Facebook Marketplace, and I have a toilet paper air filter system for the moisture removal of the actual air compressor. And I have a cooling system that I made makeshift. It was recommended to me by a friend, and it seemed to work perfectly. That was the point of getting basically no fisheyes or anything like that. So I'll show you guys the hood in a second. All right guys, so here's the look at the hood. This is 3 coats of primer, 2 coats of base, and 2 coats of clear, and I am thrilled with it. It looks so good. There are definitely some little spots of orange peel on here. I'm gonna do the whole thing, sand it down, and just go over the whole thing anyway. But I could not be happier with the way that this came out. I am painting in my garage. It is not perfect. I dextered it out a little bit. You can tell, just to not get paint all over everything. There's dust flying around. I tried to get a ventilation system over here. Had another fan blowing over there. You guys could see how messy this is, and there's some dust in here. Yes, it'll sand out. Even had a little piece of hair in here. Not sure if you could see that right here, but yeah, whatever. Wasn't going to be perfect. Never expected it to be. So definitely some orange peel texture to it. But overall, guys, this is the finished hood before compounding and buffing, and I will be filming that in today's episode. Here we have a little bit of run, but I think that's the clear, and it will buff right out. Second thing we have is the bumper. Bumper did not come out as nice as the hood did. There was a lot of nooks, crannies, curves, and I just didn't have the flow pattern down. I was not skilled enough to get this the way that I wanted it to be. And I also stupidly did the hood and did not cover the bumper, so I had some overspray. Now, overspraying the clear doesn't really matter too much because I'm going to be sanding it down anyway, but the texture, you guys can hear, hopefully hear that. Compared to the hood, there's nothing. So, needs to be sanded down. There's a lot of orange peel on here. There's a couple little paint runs on here, mostly right in here. You guys could see that, I don't know. But, you know, it is what it is. This was a hard spot to paint because as I'm coming this way, I'm painting over here in order to get these. And it just ran a little bit. I put a little too much paint on there, but yeah, overall, I think it came out great. And I will show you guys the body work that I did. You guys remember, this is where the hole was in the bumper. So it looks pretty damn good. I don't think you can really tell unless you're looking for it. I asked my wife and she said that she couldn't even find it. She might have just been being nice because, you know, no one wants to be told that they suck at what they're doing. But I thought it came out pretty good. It feels pretty nice. So I'm thrilled with this, guys. Let me know what you think. So today I'm going to be wet sanding the bumper and the hood in order to get any of the orange peel out. So I bought a sanding disc kit on Amazon, $20. I got 100 different pads. Ranging from 1,000 all the way up to 3,000. I'm going to be wet sanding it down, and I don't think I'll go 1,000, 2,000 in that range. I'll see how it feels, but I'll definitely be going at least 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 to get all those sanding marks out. So, all right, so I'm going to be sanding with the wet. So I have this little water bottle concoction. Got some dish soap in here with some water, a little hole in the top. Gonna spray it up. I'm gonna work in small portions. Never done this before, so we'll see how it goes. Starting out with 1000 grit, we'll go over very lightly. We have the protective pad here. We're gonna be putting basically just the weight of the machine. I'm just gonna be guiding it, no pressure at all from me, and we're gonna be moving very slowly, yet quickly at the same time, because I don't want to be staying in one spot for too long. Just want to give a quick update. So this portion has been wet sanded with 1000 and some soapy water. So hopefully you guys can see the difference. You definitely can. So this is sanded with 1000. This is super smooth compared to this. You can definitely tell the difference. I did not go very hard. I didn't know how hard I needed to go. There are definitely a little bit of high spots on here still, so I'm going to hit that one more time. That'll actually probably come out with the other sandpapers I'm going to be using. I don't want to go too hard. I don't want to go over this too much because I do not want to go through my clear coat. So down here you can also see the difference. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I was told to avoid the corners with the sandpaper, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to avoid that because when I was priming and sanding, that is where I went through. So I'm just going to focus on this with the polisher and buffer, and I'll see how it comes out. Worst comes to worst, I can always go back over it, but you're not going to be able to fix it unless you actually re-clear it. So I'm just going to avoid all that. So you guys are going to see in the time lapse the rest of this being done. So this is what we're going to get to for the rest of the hood. Then we'll go over it again with 1500, 2000, and then 3000. Guys, so switching it up to 2000 now, and we're going to hit the whole thing again. So I forgot to show you guys the finished 1000 grit all over it, but here is the finished 2000 grit as it's drying right now. You can see how we're looking. I am avoiding the edges. I do not want to be touching these too much. I'll hit these with the polisher buffer and that'll be it. I'll show you guys where I sanded through on accident. But you can see the nice matted finish. As it'll dry, it'll start to look a little nicer. So right here I sanded through. I had a little bit of touch-up paint, so I filled that in, and I will probably do a hand pass with 3000 grit just to buff that out a little bit. But overall, looking good. That is 1000 grit and 2000 grit wet sanded over the top right now. So we'll just let it dry for another minute, and then we will hit it with a 3000 grit and then get into the buffing and polishing to see how that comes out. Moving on to 3000 grit. Guys, so here's the final 3000 grit sanded hood. See just how matted up it is. There's some gloss to it, but I don't want to go too hard on this. I've said this a couple times. I'm going to let the buffing pad do the rest. Down here, you know, it's still a little glossy, but what the buffing pad do these spots. I don't want to go through this anymore, so. So what I'm going to be using is, I'm going to start with this Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. Then when I'm done with that, I'm going to hit to the Ultimate Polish. So I also bought this buffing compound pad. So this is the blue one. This is the third step. If I didn't sand it, I probably would have started with a coarser one, but it's pretty much all, you know, it's sanded out already, so I don't have to really worry about that. So I'm going to compound with this. Then I'm going to polish with the black. This is extra fine. This is more or less a medium. And I'm going to be using my polisher, 7-inch. So we'll see how it goes. As I said, starting with the compound. Shake it up really good. I always see people dabbing it, so that's what we'll do. So we'll do this little square right here right now. Actually, start in the middle. We're gonna turn this speed down, start it at minimum, and we'll work our way up. So you guys can see the area that I went in and did. I think I'm going to use the polish on here as well, and just to get an idea of how it's actually going to look when it's done. I don't want to do the whole thing and find out that I did something wrong, but it looks dry. I wiped it off, and it is a night and day difference into what it did look like and what it looks like now. This stuff is impressive. So as I said, I'm going to do the polishing now and see how it looks, and I'll show a 3000 grit, a compound, and also a polish finish, and just get the different textures and feels. So I'll turn it back down to minimum. Alright guys, so a slight change of plans. The buffing and compound didn't come out the way that I was hoping for it, so I called a friend up and he gave me a couple tips. He said work on a small section, get it the way I want it to be, and then I'm going to actually hop into the rest of the hood. So that square that I'm going to be working in is going to be buffed, polished, and all the way up to top. So I'm going to start with the wool pad with some cutting compound, and then I'm going to hop into the polishing compound with one of the waffle pads and try to take some of those sand marks out. You can tell that the paint and the luster is definitely there, so that's something that I'm happy with. But now I just need to get those the swirl marks and the sand paper little swirls out as well. So I'm gonna hop into this and get going on it. Alright, so I just switched strategies. As I said, you know, my friend gave me a little different advice than I was going with. So you guys can see that this is where we were, and this is now the finished product. So I'm going to take this tape off, and you guys will be able to see the difference between the first step and the last step. So this is now compounded and polished, and there are basically no sanding marks and virtually no swirling marks. I'm going to go over it again when I do everything, but I'm very happy with the way that it came out. You can see the difference between the this is just sanded, this is now polished and sanded and compounded, sorry about that. And then you can get over here and you can see this was the original spot that I tried to compound and polish. It came out a little bit all right, and then this side over here you can see all the haziness and everything still in it. So this strategy, the shifting strategy, worked pretty well, so I'm going to be doing that for the rest of this. So I have the wool pad, you guys can see I'm using that. I'm cutting across the entire hood. I'm going to be doing that in sections using that. Then I'm switching to the orange waffle, and then I will finish with the yellow waffle. And through these I will be using you got the V32 chemical guys. This is the heavy duty compounding that's getting the sanding marks out. Then I'm using this with the waffle to get the swirl marks out, and then polishing it out with the yellow in order to get all of the minor imperfections out. Alright guys, so you guys saw me polishing and buffing, and in a couple spots I went through the paint. Went through the clear coat, went through the paint, and down into the primer. So I thought that a good idea would be to, take a little touch-up paint and kind of just put it on top. So it turns out that touch-up paint is actually really bad. So, or maybe I'm just really bad at it. Both could be the case, or just one. But so either way, I put a little touch of paint on, and then I put a little clear coat on, and turns out that this just bubbled up and it looked like crap. So I went one step further and I tried sanding it down, and I sanded down pretty much through the exact spot that I tried to cover up. So that happened there. Then over here, I tried to feather it out a little bit, and you can just tell where the clear coat is. Did not come out good, so I'm not happy with that either. Happened over here. This is the first spot that it happened. I had shown you guys this originally. So, more clear coat, more clear coat, more clear coat, and then base coat, and eventually it just looks like this utter disgusting mess. And one more spot over here, and this is more or less the same as the first one. It just bubbled up and it's not even, and it looks like crap. So what I'm gonna do is I taped off the hood, the areas and everything that I'm going to be repainting. Definitely gonna be repainting. I'm gonna head over to Harbor Freight Tools and possibly Home Depot, see what they have, and hopefully get an airbrush kit. I don't need a lot, so I'm thinking that an airbrush kit can kind of work this area out. I still have some leftover paint and clear coat, so hopefully all that will be enough to kind of just feather this all out and make it back to normal. So we'll see how it goes. This is all part of the learning experience. I was a little frustrated when I got up this morning, but it's learning. I didn't come into this knowing anything, and this is one of the mistakes that I learned. So I am going to try to fix this. Alright guys, so I did the other side already. I'm taking down the excess with 120. Doing it very lightly. I'm just getting the, you know, because I'm repainting, so it doesn't really matter. I'm doing 120, 240, 320, up to 400. And just getting down to, you know, the pre-painted material. So hopefully I'll be able to paint over it pretty nicely. Hitting it with 320, feathering everything out. Show a quick shot of the spots all sanded down again. 120, 240, 320, and then 400. So this is all good. This spot as well, and lastly that one. So I'm gonna head out to the store and see what I can pick up. Alright guys, so went over to Harbor Freight Tools and picked up a airbrush kit. I'm hoping that because of these little areas, now and in the future, if I mess up, I'll be able to use this and be able to just fill in these little areas instead of having to hold the compressor and using all that paint and everything. So hoping I can just go right over and be done. But we shall see. Alright, we'll give this a shot. Do a couple test sprays. See how it comes out. Seems easy enough. Alright, try going this pattern this time. Alright, something is going on over here. I'm not sure what's going on. I treated all these areas the exact same. This is having some sort of reaction, so I'm going to try to wipe that up and maybe sand it back down, but definitely can't keep that. Alright, so it took a little practice. I think I got the technique down. definitely a learning curve. Have to keep the airbrush further back. Can't tilt the gun over too much because of the paint, the way it feeds. But learned that, and wish I learned that earlier. But so there's a slight little indifference right in here, but I'm good with it. So this looks good. This over here, this also looks good. Fixed all that. This little patch, there's some run in here. I don't know if the camera, yeah, there it is. Camera picked that up a little bit. It is what it is. I'm not going to sand it back down and redo this again. But you know, lesson learned. I gotta be better with the airbrush and the painter and everything. So, and here everything is good as well. So letting it dry. Gonna toss some clear on there. Gonna mix that up now, and we'll be good. So we have everything all base coated, and now we are going to hit it with the clear. As long as everything's dry. We'll do that one last, but should be good. So just showing you guys how it came out. I removed all the tape and everything, so you can see, you know, that's where it taped off. I have to sand that down. It needs to harden and cure a little bit, but we'll sand this down and we'll blend it all in, and should come out pretty nice. So definitely happy with the way that it did. Here looks good as well. I don't know how, but somehow we missed a spot. It wasn't there when we started taping, so it is what it is. I'm not doing this again. And here as well, everything came out good. Just need to sand that down a little bit and blend it in. And same thing on this one. You have that little square, and that'll sand down pretty nicely. And once it's all cured, we'll be good. Alright guys, so I just sanded it down to 3000 wet sanded, got the whole thing really smooth. Didn't want to make the same mistake I made last time because I had a lot of scratches from the sander. So I just did it by hand with 3000, and I think it came out really smooth and really great. So now I'm going to be using a yellow buffing pad with some compound on it, and then I'll swap down to probably the blue and finish it up with the polisher. We'll see how that goes, and maybe we'll redo the hood as well. So right now, we got the yellow buffing pad with the compound, and see how it comes. So that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. You saw some blunders, you saw some issues, you saw me going over my mistakes with trying to correct it instead of just doing the correct thing and repainting. You know, as hard as it was to kind of accept that I'm going to have to repaint, and it's just something that I'm going to have to do. Learn as I go. Paint didn't come out perfect. It might have came out perfect if I used the DA polisher to begin with, but it's all right. The next time that I do this, it's going to come out the way that I envisioned it, And this is something that I learned that I won't make that same mistake again. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, throw me some comments down below. Make sure your post notifications are on, and also make sure you guys are following me over on Instagram. I do post things on there quicker than it makes its way over to YouTube. Hope that you guys can learn from me. Maybe pick up a wrench, buy a car, do whatever you need to do to just try to become a DIY salvage guy yourself.